Have you ever noticed that sometimes the person standing in front of you is not really the person you are reacting to? Maybe your partner says something small, like, "I need some time alone," and suddenly your heart begins to race. You wonder if they are angry with you. You wonder if they still love you. You start checking their messages, analyzing their tone, remembering every little thing they said. Or perhaps your partner forgets something important, and instead of simply feeling disappointed, you feel deeply rejected, as if something inside you has broken. You may ask yourself, why am I reacting so strongly? Why does this hurt so much? The answer may be hiding somewhere much deeper than your current relationship. Sometimes, the person we are fighting with today is not the person who created the original wound. The wound may have begun many years ago, when you were still a child, when you were learning what love meant, what safety felt like, and whether you were worthy of being heard. Maybe you grew up with a father who was emotionally distant. Maybe your mother criticized you more than she encouraged you. Maybe your parents argued constantly, or perhaps they loved you but never knew how to express affection. As a child, you did not have the wisdom to understand their struggles. You simply absorbed their behavior and created beliefs about yourself and about love. You may have quietly learned, "I must be perfect to be loved," or, "If someone becomes distant, they will leave me," or, "I must always keep everyone happy." And now, years later, these childhood beliefs can quietly enter your marriage, your friendships, and your closest relationships. This is why forgiveness can become such a powerful spiritual doorway. Forgiving your parents does not mean saying that everything they did was right. It does not mean forgetting your pain or removing healthy boundaries. It means releasing the emotional power that the past still holds over your present. Because sometimes, the relationship you are trying so desperately to save is not only the relationship with another person. It is the relationship you have with yourself. And when you begin healing that inner relationship, something beautiful happens. You stop asking others to prove that you are worthy of love. You stop reacting to the present through the eyes of your childhood. You begin to see people as they truly are, rather than through the shadows of what happened before. And perhaps that is where true relationship bliss begins, not when you find the perfect person, but when you become free enough to love without carrying the weight of yesterday. The hidden problem is often not the relationship itself, but the invisible emotional story we carry into it. Imagine a woman named Meera. She loves her husband deeply, but whenever he becomes quiet, even for a few minutes, she immediately feels anxious. She asks him, "Are you upset with me?" He gently says, "No, I'm just tired." But Meera cannot relax. Her mind starts creating stories. Maybe he is losing interest in her. Maybe she did something wrong. Maybe he does not love her anymore. Her husband becomes confused because, from his perspective, nothing serious has happened. But Meera is not only responding to his silence. Somewhere inside her, an older memory has been awakened. When she was a child, her father would become silent whenever he was disappointed or angry. She never knew what his silence meant, so she learned to carefully watch his face, his voice, and his mood. She learned to believe that when someone became distant, love might disappear. Years later, her husband's innocent silence touches that old wound. This happens in many relationships. A husband may become frustrated when his wife asks for reassurance again and again, without realizing that she is carrying an old fear of abandonment. A woman may become deeply hurt when her partner forgets something important, because beneath the disappointment is an old belief that she is not important enough. Someone may become extremely angry when criticized, because criticism reminds them of years of being told that they were never good enough. The present situation may be small, but the emotion can be enormous because the heart is remembering something older. This is the hidden problem. We sometimes expect our partners to heal wounds they never created. And until we recognize where those wounds began, we may keep repeating the same emotional patterns, believing that the problem is always the person in front of us. When we are children, we do not have the emotional understanding to see our parents as imperfect human beings. We see them as our world. Their words become powerful. Their reactions become meaningful. If a mother constantly worries, a child may quietly learn that the world is unsafe. If a father rarely shows affection, the child may begin to believe that emotions should be hidden. If parents argue frequently, the child may grow up believing that love always comes with conflict. And if a child is criticized again and again, they may carry the belief that they must become perfect to deserve love. These beliefs are rarely created through one single moment. They are formed slowly, through repeated experiences, small disappointments, silence, comparison, rejection, or a lack of emotional connection. Psychology may describe these patterns through attachment, conditioning, or emotional wounds. Spiritual wisdom invites us to look even deeper. Instead of only asking, "Why did this happen to me?" we can gently ask, "What is this experience teaching me about myself?" Perhaps your childhood taught you to become strong. Perhaps it taught you compassion for people who struggle to express love. Perhaps it revealed the kind of parent or partner you never want to become. But there is something important to understand. Finding meaning in your pain does not mean approving the pain. You can acknowledge that your parents hurt you without allowing anger to control the rest of your life. Forgiveness does not mean saying, "What happened was acceptable." Forgiveness means saying, "What happened was painful, but I choose not to let that pain decide who I become." You are allowed to remember the past without living inside it. You are allowed to understand your parents without excusing harmful behavior. And most importantly, you are allowed to begin giving yourself the love, patience, safety, and acceptance that you may have been searching for since childhood. This is where true healing begins, because the moment you understand your inner pattern, you gain the freedom to choose a different response. There is a deeper question we can ask when we look at our relationship with our parents. Why was I born into this particular family, with these particular experiences? Different spiritual traditions describe this through the language of karma, destiny, or the lessons of the soul. We do not need to believe that every painful experience was somehow meant to happen, but we can recognize that every experience can become an opportunity for awareness and growth. Sometimes, families pass down more than names, traditions, and memories. They pass down emotional patterns. Imagine a family where anger has existed for generations. A grandfather shouted at his children, the father learned the same behavior, and eventually the children begin expressing anger in the same way. One child grows up and promises, "I will never become like my father." But years later, under stress, that person suddenly hears the same harsh words coming out of their own mouth. For a moment, they realize, this anger did not begin with me, but it can end with me. This is the power of awareness. Perhaps your family passed down fear, silence, emotional distance, constant criticism, or the habit of sacrificing yourself to keep everyone happy. You may not have chosen these patterns consciously, but you can choose whether they continue through you. Spiritual awakening begins when we stop saying, "This is just how my family is," and start saying, "This may be what I inherited, but it does not have to become my destiny." Your parents may have given you certain emotional patterns, but they do not have to determine your future. Karma, in the deepest sense, can be understood not as punishment, but as an invitation to become conscious. The moment you see a pattern clearly, you have already taken the first step toward breaking it. And sometimes, healing yourself is not only personal healing. It is the moment when an old family story finally reaches its end. Sometimes, the easiest way to recognize an old emotional pattern is to notice how strongly you react to ordinary situations. Maybe your partner does not reply to your message for a few hours, and instead of simply thinking they are busy, your mind immediately says, "Something is wrong. They are ignoring me. Maybe they do not care about me anymore." Maybe your partner comes home tired and does not talk much, and you suddenly feel unwanted. Or perhaps someone gives you a small piece of criticism, and you feel deeply hurt, angry, or defensive, even though their words were not meant to attack you. These reactions can be signs that an older wound is being touched. Imagine a man whose mother constantly compared him with other children when he was young. He grows up believing that he must always prove himself. Later, when his wife says, "I think you could have handled that differently," he does not hear simple feedback. He hears, "You are not good enough." Another person may have grown up in a home where saying no was treated as selfish. As an adult, they constantly say yes to everyone, even when they are exhausted, because disappointing someone feels unbearable. Someone else may have grown up with emotionally distant parents and now becomes uncomfortable whenever a partner becomes emotionally close. They want love, but when love arrives, they feel the need to escape. These patterns can appear in marriage, friendships, family conversations, and even at work. So when you notice yourself having an unusually strong emotional reaction, pause before responding. Take a slow breath and ask yourself, is this really about what is happening right now, or is something from my past being awakened? That simple question creates space between the old wound and your present choice. You begin to respond instead of react. And in that small space, healing begins. Healing your relationship with your parents does not mean that you must suddenly forget everything that happened or pretend that there was no pain. True healing is much more gentle and honest. Begin by asking yourself a simple question: what did I need as a child that I did not receive? Maybe you needed encouragement, but instead you received criticism. Maybe you needed someone to listen, but your feelings were dismissed. Maybe you needed affection, but your parents did not know how to express it. Or perhaps you needed emotional safety because there was too much conflict around you. Once you recognize that need, ask yourself another question: can I begin giving some of that to myself today? If you were rarely told that you were enough, learn to speak to yourself with kindness. If you were constantly criticized, allow yourself to make mistakes without attacking yourself. If you were taught to keep everyone happy, begin learning that saying no does not make you a bad person. And when difficult moments happen with your parents, pause before reacting. Imagine your mother criticizes your career or questions one of your decisions. You do not have to become defensive or start an argument. You can calmly say, "I understand that you are concerned about me, but I have thought about this carefully, and I would appreciate your trust." That is emotional maturity. You can respect your parents without surrendering your boundaries. You can understand their struggles without accepting harmful behavior. And if a relationship is deeply unhealthy or unsafe, forgiveness does not mean allowing someone to continue hurting you. Sometimes healing means creating distance while releasing hatred from your heart. Remember, you cannot control whether your parents change. But you can choose whether their behavior continues to control your inner peace. The moment you choose that freedom, you begin returning to yourself. There comes a moment in spiritual growth when we stop asking, "Why did my parents do this to me?" and begin asking a deeper question: "What can I learn from what happened, and how can I choose differently now?" This does not mean that the pain was necessary or that what happened was acceptable. It simply means that your past does not have to remain the author of your future. Imagine carrying a heavy stone in your heart for 20 or 30 years. Every time you remember an old argument, a harsh word, or something your parents failed to give you, you pick up that stone again. Forgiveness is the moment you gently place it down. Not because the person who hurt you deserves to be forgiven immediately, but because your own heart deserves to experience freedom. Your parents were human beings too. They had their own fears, weaknesses, disappointments, and perhaps wounds inherited from their parents. Understanding this does not excuse harmful behavior, but it can soften the anger that keeps you emotionally connected to the past. And when you begin releasing that anger, something changes in your relationships today. You stop expecting your partner to constantly prove that you are lovable. You stop interpreting every disagreement as rejection. You stop asking someone else to repair a childhood wound they did not create. You begin to love from awareness rather than fear. This may be one of the deepest spiritual lessons of forgiveness. The people who wounded you do not have to remain the people who define you. Your childhood shaped certain parts of you, but it does not have to imprison you. Your parents influenced your emotional patterns, but they do not own your future. When you become conscious of what you carry, you gain the power to put down what no longer belongs in your life. And perhaps that is true awakening, not becoming someone completely different, but finally becoming free enough to be who you were always meant to be. As we come to the end of this journey, take a quiet moment and look within your heart. Perhaps there is still a memory of your childhood that feels painful. Perhaps there are words your parents said that you still remember clearly, or perhaps there is something they never said that you wished you could have heard. You do not have to force yourself to forget any of it. You do not have to pretend that everything was perfect. Healing begins with honesty. It begins when you can look at your past and gently say, "Yes, this hurt me, but I choose not to carry this pain forever." Forgiveness is not about changing your parents. It is about freeing your own heart. And when you become free from old emotional patterns, you create space for healthier, more peaceful relationships in the present. So before you leave, ask yourself one important question: what is one childhood wound that I may still be carrying into the way I love, trust, or communicate with others? If you feel comfortable sharing, write your answer in the comments. You do not need to share anything deeply personal. Even one simple word, such as fear, rejection, anger, or trust, can begin a meaningful conversation. Your experience may also help someone else realize that they are not alone. If this video touched your heart, gently share it with someone who may need these words today. And if you want more videos about spiritual healing, relationships, self-love, karma, and the deeper teachings of Yogananda, consider subscribing to the channel and staying with us on this journey. Also, tell me in the comments, what would you like to hear about in the next video? Is there a relationship, spiritual, or emotional question that you want us to explore together? Until we meet again, may your heart become lighter, your mind become peaceful, and your soul become more aware. May you release the past with wisdom, receive the present with gratitude, and walk toward the future with love. Jai Guru Dev.